First of all, thank you for being here. Today we're talking about embedded librarianship and its application from a social perspective in universities. The reason why we chose this topic is to respond to the most recent trend in LIS and apply some of our own understanding to it. And coming from my personal experience as the president of a student group previously, this topic seems highly relevant to students' life at large.
So, embedded librarianship is a relatively new domain in the field of library information science, or LIS, that has attracted attention and developed quickly in recent years. On university campuses, it is used both online and in person as a learning tool, and there are many publications focused on embedded librarianship on such things as academic success and research competency. But as of yet, there hasn't been much work looking at using it in students' social life on campus. With increasing trends towards librarians moving out into the community and becoming more visible, is there an opportunity for academic librarians to be more involved in the student community on campus? So in this presentation, we will explore the possibility of embedding a librarian with startup student groups or clubs and the values and sustainability of this practice as a possible program for academic libraries. And by embedded librarian, we're referring to librarians who collaborate with student groups as a whole, nurturing a relationship to address their needs within the context of the specific group rather than the physical building itself.
So this diagram on the screen shows an overview of how student groups function in a cycle of 6 activities. So just take a moment and look at it and let it sink in. And although all 6 operational activities generate some information needs, I will be focusing on searching for funding and sponsorships in the following example. Although extracurriculars are often considered a part of students' social life on campus and may not have apparent ties to LIS, running a student group demands for a high level of information literacy. Taking information searching for an example, students' groups are often short on funds, so there is substantial pressure for them to seek external funding. While external funding resources and databases are available, they are hard to find or navigate. Most student leaders end up spending a lot of time teaching themselves or seeking private help outside of school. For this and many other reasons, we believe there is potential for librarians to work with student group leaders to improve their information literacy and help students support the noble causes.
So currently, embedded librarians in academic institutions provide important support and materials in such areas as online learning and information literacy. But what if we were to transfer this to student groups, particularly student groups that are just getting on their feet? This does away with the library being just a physical building and characterizes librarians as dynamic and interactive, embedding them with the student community where the support and resources they provide could be applied to new startup groups, specifically student ones. In other words, bringing academic librarians out of the centralized libraries and place them in university social spaces where they provide individual support and resources to newly established student groups. The benefits of this would be on-campus support of entrepreneurship and student initiatives, improved information literacy, and letting students feel that embedded librarians are not just people who are there to forward relevant information in emails, but rather a part of the team or a mentor who can train group members to gather resources independently and develop a list of sources for future club use.
There were no previous examples of academic librarians embedding with student groups, so we have searched 2 databases using U of T and also the OLA database, where we're not able to find any academic literature published on the topic. However, we were able to find past partnerships between the 2 parties to learn how they would work collaboratively. Both Alpha Education and the Student Journal Publishing Group at the University of Toronto have worked with academic librarians before. From these partnerships, we discovered some similarities between the 2 groups. First, these groups both have a research-oriented objective. Besides information needs generated from daily operations, their club activities have a strong focus on research, writing, publishing, and education. Secondly, both groups reached out to librarians for help. In these specific partnerships studied, students were the action initiators. Our discoveries also suggested that the needs to access information services are not equal across all student groups. While some groups have stronger demands for information help, groups with a social focus do not. Thus, if a student group embedded librarian service is to be launched in the future, resource allocation will be a critical challenge. In addition to resource allocation challenge, it may also be costly to provide embedded library services to the work, and the workload of librarians may increase as a result. However, we should not be frightened by the idea of embedding librarians with student groups, as it is a quick way to make our work visible and influential in the student community. To account for these challenges, continuing working in small scales with student groups, such as the Alpha Education, is a great way to further assess student groups' needs in accessing library services. Doing so also allows us to evaluate the outcomes of student-librarian partnerships, which is currently lacking. If students' information literacy shows significant improvements, a scale-up like an embedded librarianship may be more attractive to librarians, as we are all natural advocates for learning.
So, as we already mentioned, recent trends in LIS oppose the traditional and unidirectional relationship between librarians and patrons. A new emphasis on social interaction is becoming increasingly evident, and libraries are transforming into learning commons. Instead of having students come to us, we librarians can make our work more visible by engaging in the community and providing services that are not only relevant in their academic life, but in their social life as well. So while there are challenges to starting this type of program, this is an idea we might want to explore in the future as librarians increasingly move out of physical buildings and into public spaces. With this in mind, it's high time librarians jumped in bed with student groups. Thank you.